Okay, this is another edition of Quackaholics Anonymous, and I guess what has become my trademark line, didn't get to do one of these last week, is how I'm going to start this video out. And of course, before I begin anything, I always want to give shout outs to content creators like the newest one, Contempt upon Investigation, the Recovery Rebellion podcast with Burn the Stigma, Thrive Alcohol Recovery, if you want to learn about the Sinclair method for quitting drinking. Emma's Groupthink podcast, which has a lot of great interviews with people who have left the cult religion. And of course, Sobriety Bestie, who's been doing, by the way, 90 videos in 90 days, kind of like AA telling you 90 days, 90 meetings in 90 days. She's doing 90 videos in 90 days about the cult of AA for the programming. I haven't gotten a chance to watch them yet, but some of the comments in some of her videos from some of these cult defenders is always rich with the same old excuses and the same old character attacks and everything else, like I get on a pretty consistent basis. And don't forget, Burn the Stigma with Tabor Grace, who also has the Recovery Rebellion podcast that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, it is Recovery Rebellion. I'm looking at notes and talking at the same time. And Bobby C. with Anonymous Addiction, and Dan Joyce, whose book I haven't read it yet, but I promise it's on my to-do list with a lot of other books that I need to get to. And one other thing that I did want to mention, that if you're going to come to the channel with the same old cliche of, you seem like such an angry person. When there are destructive cult religions that have weaved their way into the world of addiction treatment, and it's harming lots of people, including myself, it kind of makes me angry when I talk about it. Now, I know a lot of the naysayers think that I just get out of bed every morning talking about how much I hate AA, and all day long while I'm doing work, I think how much I hate AA, and when I get home from work at night and I'm paying bills, or when I'm reading a book, or when I'm watching a good television series, I'm just thinking about how much I hate AA. But truth to be told, the poison of the cult religion that pretty much dominated me for my first few years upon leaving, where I stayed in an angry, reactive state, is a lot less today than it used to be. But the majority of my time is not spent obsessing about Quackaholics Anonymous. I put these videos out to spread the message to people who are still stuck in the cult trap, or who are trying to get away from the cult trap, or who are in that miserable reactive state that I was in for a very long period of time. When you know that you want to quit drinking, you know that there's something wrong with your addiction, and you know all these things, but the only option being given to you is a whole lot of harsh, tough love from assholes in general in these really toxic meetings. So yeah, I would do this whether I had a resentment against AA or not, and I would do this whether or not I had subscribers or not. There was someone saying, I guess you're just doing this for clicks and views. I love it how they already know where I'm coming from, what my motivations are, what I'm thinking, and everything else, right? In fact, I even thought I was going to say that I've got a new vape for this particular video, because the last couple of videos I've done, the vape is about to go out when I start the video, but this one is practically brand new. I almost did a video. In fact, I may do a video about the magic vape. You see, I'm no longer an atheist. I believe in the magic vape. The magic vape healed my desire for 2 packs of cigarettes a day. The magic vape actually gave me a spiritual experience. It allowed me to see beyond the dimensions of space and time and reality, and see the universe in a way that had never been previously revealed to me before. And if you're a person who's trying to quit smoking, and you did a few vapes and you didn't like them, you weren't a real smoker to begin with, right? And if you say to me, well, I did some vapes and I didn't see beyond the universe and I didn't feel a mystical healing touch, I'm going to tell them, well, you didn't really want the vape to work. You really weren't willing for the vape to work. You may have not even been a real smoker to begin with. You just thought you were a real smoker to begin with. But I'm telling you, if you were a serious smoker like I was, and you were smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, in fact, you usually couldn't wait for your break at work to light up a smoke, or you were always smoking one right after the other in the car, and you were a serious smoker, then you would know there was magic power infused in this vape. It gives you visions. It gives you a personal relationship with the universe and the stars and the music of the spheres and everything beyond. but only if you're a real smoker, not a fake smoker, not a person who just is not willing to not be a smoker. No, you have to be a true smoker and willing to go to any length for this vape to work in the magical way that it works. Otherwise, you just don't want it bad enough. You probably just want to keep smoking. You don't really want to quit smoking. And if you quit smoking by using nicotine gum, or if you quit smoking just on good old willpower, or if you quit smoking by some other type of method, it's obvious you weren't a real smoker to begin with. Because if you're a real smoker, this is the only way that you can quit smoking, the magic vape. It's the only way. You may have used nicotine gum. You may have used old-fashioned willpower. You may have flushed your cigarettes down the toilet and never smoked again, but you will smoke again without the magic vape. The magic vape is what gets you off cigarettes. And if this doesn't make any sense to you, how could it? You're not a real smoker. So that would be the crux of that particular video. But today's video is actually going to be on a slogan I had thrown at me not too long ago about, well, you know what's wrong with you. Everybody knows what's wrong with me that's an AA defender. They know my thoughts. They know my private life. They know everything about me. They know it all, right? They can read your mind. You know, the 12 steps make you psychic and all that other bullshit. But I turned my back on God because, after all, ego, E-G-O, easing God out. You know, I hadn't heard that in a very, very long time. And I had forgotten how much I used to fucking hate that in meetings when someone would say, well, you know what ego means? Easy God out. And you know what God means? Group of drunks. Good orderly direction. You know, you fucking assholes have to tap dance around everything. You know, whoa, we're not a religion. It's just good orderly direction. Unless God is punishing you with drunkenness because you didn't do a fifth step. So let's redefine words. Words don't really mean what they think they mean. Ego, which truly means just a sense of self, actually means easing God out. Trademarks of a cult religion, I might add. But why don't we examine that for a video or two? I know I did one on blocking me from the sunlight or the spirit garbage, but I didn't have a lot of notes when I did that. And at that time, I was still fairly new to this and kind of feeling my way through and kind of finding myself, I guess, or how to do this in a way that I think articulates a lot better. It's like when I get comments on my earlier videos and someone says it's a great video, there's a part of me that's like, I don't know if it was that great or not. I hadn't really gotten comfortable in front of a camera and talking at that time, and I was also still trying to deprogram, still trying to get my life together. I didn't even have a driver's license when I started making these videos. I didn't even have all my legal fines paid off. I was still trying to get out of being borderline homeless when I first started making these videos. The early videos, the living room, which you see evolve into a cleaner model in the later videos, was practically a storage room that I had moved into, and I hadn't even figured out a way to get it cleaned up because every time I would get it rearranged, here would come my landlord. Oh, by the way, I just need to leave this here for a few days while I figure out a place to put it. And they would just pile up all this furniture in the living room. So I'm making a video looking like I'm in a thrift store or something. Like this is coming to you from the living room thrift store. So a lot has changed since I started with these videos, and I've evolved and I've gotten older and all those other things. I could lie and say I'm older and wiser, but really, I think it's just a case of I'm older and I just don't care. So turned my back on God, got blocked by the sunlight of the spirit. To drink is to die. With us, it's just like that. I think we ought to do another examine of that real quickly. So at the start, when you first go to AA, what's the first thing you hear when that how it works garbage is being read? You hear, there is one who has all power, and that one is God. May you find him now. All power, right? There is one who has all power, and you got to find him now. Well, if he has all power and he's everywhere, why do I need to find him, right? I mean, but powerful, infinite cosmic help, ready to save you from your next blackout, your next drunken binge, right there, right now. All you got to do is find it, the one with all power, right? But if you hang around for 5 more pages, and you go through a few chapters, suddenly you could block yourself from the sunlight of the spirit. And I got to grab another note already. Or even in meetings when people will say, well, see, I went back out there. Yeah, I went back out there. Not a cult at all, folks, but when you take a drink, you are back out there somewhere in the horrifying, forbidden wastelands of the T.S. Eliot type poem type thing, because you left the rooms, you're out there because I turned my back on God. So wait, the all-powerful creator of the universe, what happens here? Does he lose a signal because you didn't do your 4-step homework? God can spin galaxies into existence. He's a spirit of the universe. He can go across the cosmos and space and time and has all power. But he got tripped up because you started to think for yourself and decided, you know what, maybe I could drink. Which, by the way, every time that you slide off the wagon and say, maybe I could drink, you're not actually experiencing a moral failure. What you're doing is actually struggling to overcome your addiction. Of course, if you're addicted to booze, of course, if you're addicted to drugs and you're trying to not do them any longer, it's almost kind of normal to have a backslide, to have a backslip. It doesn't mean that I'm underestimating or I'm downplaying the seriousness of that. Sure, you could relapse and drive drunk and kill someone. You could relapse on say, some hard addictive drug, and like cases I've seen with people who have collapsed veins or who have infections. And I'm trying to think of the word for it, but I can't think of the word for it, that lands them in the emergency room. Yeah, those things can happen. I'm not downplaying it. But the fact that you might drink again, or you might pick up whatever your favorite substance is, that's not some moral failing. That's not because you're a stupid person or a bad person. That's not because you're like those people in the meetings that sit there, I just can't get this thing, I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot, I'm an idiot. No, it's because you are addicted. You were addicted to something. You've trained your brain to think it needs that addiction, and you're trying to retrain your brain. And what are you told in AA? You're not told how to retrain your brain. You're not told how to break addictive habits and patterns and cycles. You're told you're weak and defective and useless and just nothing, just failure without God. And then when the cravings come back, you blame yourself for turning your back on God when it has nothing to do with the almighty spirit of the universe that built up you, conjured up out of thin air when he was screwed up on belladonna in a hospital, right? So the all-powerful creator of the universe just gets a little irritated, gets a little offended, gets a little upset because you somehow managed to turn your back on him. But I thought God was everywhere. I thought God was, all-powerful. So how are you going to turn your back on something that's all-powerful? How's it going to let you do that? Hold on. Got a dry throat with all the heat outside. A dry mouth and sinuses, I should say. So page 62, for example, in the big book, it says selfishness, self-centeredness. That we think is the root of our troubles. And they trip over this bullshit. And then it tells us that God makes that possible. We must be rid of it or it kills us. And God makes that possible. So God can help you. The AA God can help you if you confess and you surrender and you obey and you never get too selfish. The all-powerful but extremely easy to offend higher power, the one that has all the power that makes it possible for you to get rid of your very human nature that's intrinsic to you as a human being. But it can make it possible for you, but you can turn your back on it. You can take your will back from this thing that has all this power. I've actually seen people in meetings say this. Well, you see, what happened was I took my will back. That's what happened. I actually gave God all my power, and then I took it back. So the all-powerful creator of the universe can let you take your power back from it? Is it that easy to do? I mean, is it that weak? It doesn't have any way to stop you? It doesn't say, you know what, you gave the power to me, and since I have all power, you never had any power to begin with. But, you know what, I'll challenge you to an arm wrestling contest, and if you can win the arm wrestling contest, you can have the power back and go get drunk and die. I'm sorry. I might take you back, or you may have to die so that others can live. I haven't made up my mind yet, but here's your power back from the thing that's all powerful. Because we agnostics, they jump in and they say, either God is everything or he is nothing. What is our choice to be? So God needs my mood swing to exist now. If I'm spiritual, he's real. If I relapse, he disappears. Cosmic light switch, it flips on and off when I ghost my sponsor or something like that. And by the way, when things are real, when things are everything or they are nothing, is or isn't, in this stupid, dramatic way that Bill W. writes, I don't think it has anything to do with my decisions, right? Like it says, what is our decision to be? Either he's everything or he's nothing. Either he is or he isn't. What's our decision to be? Well, a decision doesn't determine truth, does it? I didn't think it did. Like if I said, well, I don't believe in gravity any longer. I just don't believe in it. Gravity isn't real. I'm holding myself down on Earth here. Does gravity stop existing? Do I have to make a choice about gravity? Do I have to make a choice about oxygen? Do I have to say to myself, well, either oxygen is or it isn't. What's my choice? Things that are fact just are. Things that are in reality don't become true and untrue, false and not false, based on our decision to make it true or not true. The only thing I know of that could do that is figments of our imagination, right? Like when I was a little 11, 12-year-old boy, and I said on here before, me and my dog were best friends, and we would play in backyards or in abandoned lots, and I'd have little pieces of cardboard with magic castles drawn on them, or sometimes something else, and we would do these little things, and Mr. Rogers, kind of like Mr. Rogers, the land of make-believe type of thing there, right? That was my choice as to what adventure we were going to embark on for that day. Sometimes me and my dog would go into the far future, and we would be post-apocalyptic wanderers in a wasteland, and we would have to throw a ball back and forth and run around and play like that. And sometimes we were in the Middle Ages, and sometimes we were fighting dragons and all that other kind of thing. That was choices based on figments of my imagination. But if there is an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving, I don't know about that one, creator of the universe, does it exist and not exist dependent upon our existence? Upon our decisions? God, you're real today. Yep, I'm real. I'm right here. I'm ready to take that will away from you, and I'm ready to remove your obsession to drink, provided you do that fourth step. Okay, you said you'll do it. Okay, I'll take your will today. And then I wake up the next day, God, I don't believe in you anymore. I vanish. And it just disappears. So what is our decision to be? God is real sometimes. God is not real sometimes. Is that how this works? This is ridiculous. So if you take a drink, you shut down the spirit of the universe's Wi-Fi connection to you. You skip the meeting. And I got to get another note now. You skipped another meeting and it short-circuited the stars. The spirit of the universe just couldn't take it. You didn't go to your meeting tonight. I'm all powerful. I'm all everything, but I just can't tolerate people doing this. So they're just going to have to drink and die. So an infinite God that's everywhere, that's everything, that is all things, gets blocked because you had a bad week and got back into self. I never understood got back into self either. Is self like a new dress shirt? Well, you know what? This dress shirt, it's a good dress shirt, but I think I'm gonna get another one over there for the next video. Maybe the blue one, or maybe the dark gray one. It's back into self-will. So you got self-will, you take the self-will off, and then you get back into self-will. How does that work? But here's where it gets really weird. There's this design flaw that nobody ever really talks about, and I think this is really the crux of this video this week. This is an idea that developed as I was thinking over how to talk about this, but this is the really strange part about all of it. If God really does have all power, why is the program so sloppy? Why does it only help a tiny fraction of people? And then when there's an excuse to be given for the tiny fraction of people it helps, they say, see, this program is only designed for real alcoholics, not hard drinkers, not drug addicts. The reason AA has such a massive failure rate is because of all these goddamn drug addicts. It's the drug addicts, it's the hard drinkers, but the real alcoholics. So God in his infinite wisdom and all power, spirit of the universe, creator of everything, master of the universe, can't design a better program. But this one shitty program that has a 95% failure rate and only is supposed to help a tiny little percentage of mythical people who claim to be real alcoholics. Why does the big book admit it can't really help hard drinkers and real alcoholics if they can't be honest? Why do I have to be the one that has to be that has to overcome being no, what is it says in how it works? Oh yeah, many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Well, why is it I'm the one who has to have the capacity to be honest? I mean, isn't the all-powerful God, can it make that possible for me? I mean, they're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. So God just made them that way to fail, and he can't do nothing for them. He can't help them with the program. Remember, it says people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. So the AA God is so inept that he can't help those people. He can't do shit for those people. Those people cannot or will not completely get themselves to this simple program. So fuck them. I'm the all-powerful, all-knowing creator of the universe, but they're just going to have to die. Sorry. I must have made a mistake in my design that day. The creator of everything can engineer the entire cosmos, but he can't create a better book or a better program that can help everybody who's a hard drinker, who can't be honest with themselves and all these other things. He can't do that, right? That would mean he's not the all-powerful, all-knowing creator. That would kind of mean that he's a little bit inept. That would mean that he's been slacking off in his duties. That would mean he's lazy. Here's a program, but it's only going to help a few people. All the rest of them, they're just going to fucking die, and it's not my fault, it's their fault. Even though I made them that way. They seem to have been born that way. I made them that way, but I just can't be bothered. I can't be bothered fixing it. Here, let me find this guy. Where are you? Bill W. here. Write this book and make a lot of money off of it, and, do all this other shit, but I can't be bothered from now on, because after all, I gave you free will, even though you seem to have been born that way, right? I mean, Bill W. himself says the main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind, but apparently the divine solution doesn't work unless it's a few typed pages out of this shitty book and a circle of folding chairs in a basement. And when AA fails, well, obviously you weren't a real alcoholic, or you didn't work the program right, or you weren't willing. Never, hey, maybe this one-size-fits-all 1930s plan is outdated. Nope, your higher power just shrugs and lets you die. But don't worry, he has all power for those who honestly seek him. He can't make you honestly seek him. He just wants you to crawl and grovel and hope that you can find him. But you may have been born that way. You may have been born one of those people that's naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. So God can't heal those people. God can't do shit for those people. And by the way, while we're at this, asking these questions, could the spirit of the universe design a better program? I mean, could it? I mean, Bill W. says it has all power. Could it not design a better program? If it can't design a better program than this shit, then it's really not all powerful, is it? And if it lets people die because they're naturally capable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty, then it's a fucking evil bastard, is it not? All those people down there, they're all going to die, and I could just snap my fingers like that and make them capable of grasping and developing a manner of living. And why do I need to grasp and develop a manner of living? Can't you just snap your fingers and make it happen? Can't you just say these people are in pain? And while you're at it, can you do something about little children with leukemia? Can you do something about people starving to death? Can you do something about people who are routinely killed in natural disasters like what just happened in Texas? You're not going to do anything about any of that. You're just going to help a few drunks who happen to be real alcoholics, who happen to fit into that tiny little bracket, and everybody else is just shit out of luck or on their own. So he's either not all-powerful, he doesn't have all-powerful, he's certainly not loving as he expresses himself in our group consciousness, because the leaders are shitheads and lowlifes and insecure bullies who feed on their fucking power trips, so he's not there. So he's either a malicious asshole, or he's lazy and incompetent, or maybe it's not real. Maybe it's all just made up bullshit from Bill W. the con artist. So, you got to ask yourself, which one is it? Is it all powerful, or is it just powerful enough to lay heavy guilt trips on you when you fail to be perfect, even though they say progress, not perfection? You don't have to be perfect until you do have to be perfect in AA. More AA tap dancing. They tell you don't have to be perfect. None of us maintains perfect adherence to these principles. But then they demand you be perfect, because if you leave something in your 4-step out about, the one time you stole a cookie when you were in the first grade, you're going to drink again and die, because you're just not capable. Doesn't this all sound like it's rather bizarre? So the sunlight of the spirit, the sunlight that's beamed out of the spirit of the universe's fingers, all of a sudden gets cut off because it just didn't like the way you acted today. Even though if it's all powerful, then it would know how you're going to act. It would know you're going to relapse. It would know you're probably not going to grasp and develop a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty, and it just doesn't do shit about it. The closer you examine this, the more idiotic it gets. And let's just go back to what I've gone back to in several videos here as I wrap this up. Let's not forget, one poor chap committed suicide in my home. He could not or would not see our way. Maybe our way was flawed. Maybe we made a mistake. Maybe this isn't inspired by God. No. Just blame the dead guy for failing to crack the secret code, the Da Vinci Code. Good thing Bill's God has all power. That it let the guy die because he just couldn't see the way of life. So he couldn't help the guy see the way of life. No, because he wants you to honestly seek him. And if you can't honestly seek him, you're just shit out of luck, right? So the next time someone says, well, God has all power, may you find him now, you might want to ask, did he ever consider writing a version 2.0 for this program? Like, if God was really speaking to Bill back in the 1930s, unless God was ignorant and had no idea how technology and science and all that other stuff was going to progress, why couldn't he have told Bill W. something like, the real problem when you've experienced trauma and you're reliving it like you're doing, or hearing hateful words from long dead family members and all those other things is not because you're displeasing me as God. No, what's really going on are certain areas of the brain, like the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, which are partially wired into your survival mechanism, and your brain is actually recognizing these old traumas as threats to your life, and it's replaying it on endless loop, which is not necessary. But there is good news. How come it didn't tell him that? As a matter of fact, remind me, I'm going to do a video about all the different parts of the brain at one point. I'm not a fucking neurosurgeon, but I can give you some pretty fascinating information that I think will take away some more stigmas about my horrible thinking, my alcoholic thinking. There is no such thing as alcoholic thinking, and I'm going to set out to show you that. But why couldn't he told Bill W. that? Why couldn't he have told Bill W. back in the 1930s, there is a formula that can be put together. It's called naltrexone, and naltrexone could save millions of people. It didn't tell him that. How come it didn't tell him the parts of the brain that are activated by addiction, or how addiction is a learned behavior and you can unlearn the behavior? How come it didn't tell him none of those things? How come it didn't just tell him some real facts? How come it gave him this shitty, contradictory, illogical, totally absurd religion that has wormed its way and latched its way into every mainstream method of treatment throughout the world, which makes billions of dollars off the misery of people and the constant deaths and overdoses and relapses and cycles people in and out and gives a playground for these old-timer guru bullying assholes to thrive? How come it couldn't have told him that was going to happen? How come it couldn't have told him there should be some safeguards in place to make sure this doesn't go on? It couldn't tell him none of those things. So either your higher power is everything, or he's a petty moral landlord who ghosted you because you didn't rinse out your spiritual coffee mug every day, every 24 hours a day. But if he can't even design a program that helps most people without a death toll, maybe it's not you that's powerless. Maybe God in the program is the one that's powerless. And, I don't know how long I've talked here. I can't see my timestamp, but I'm going to end this with my subscriber comment, and this is from a subscriber who said, I thought AA was great at first, but I quickly realized that it was a cult. Every time I said I was getting better, they'd shut it down and say I wasn't, that it was my ego talking, and that the disease is doing push-ups in the corner, in the parking lot in my meetings. The disease is doing push-ups in the parking lot. So wait a minute. God is all-powerful, but he can't do nothing about the disease in the parking lot doing push-ups? How come he can't just go to the disease in the parking lot doing the push-ups and say, hey, bro, chill. You can stop doing the push-ups. You can go somewhere else. You can take a fucking breather. Drink a Gatorade and take a break. I'm going to heal these people, and yeah, you can take a break, guy. How come it doesn't do that? Why is it letting the disease do push-ups in a parking lot when it could just tell it, you can take a break now? You know, go get on the treadmill. Go hang out at the gym and meet some friends. Other diseases that I don't cure. You know, go hang out with cancer and leukemia and multiple sclerosis and all those diseases. You can lay off the push-ups. I was 10 months in when they told me to get a sponsor. I was naive what that even meant. I'm right there with you. When I got to AA and everybody was talking about their sponsor, I thought that sponsors were professionally trained. I thought that these were people with degrees. I thought these were people that had some kind of specialty that gave them the ability to be sponsors. I didn't realize that being a sponsor meant you done sat in 20, 30 meetings for 20, 30 years, the same 20 or 30 meetings for 20 or 30 years, regurgitating and telling the same fucking boring war stories over and over again. We only met once, and once I heard that they expected me to do these steps, I was done. In Scientology, they call it auditing. And then my last line, in AA, they call it doing the steps. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing, right? It's mind control. It's mind control. That's all it is. Anyway, hope you got something out of that. By the way, there was a subscriber, not a subscriber, there was somebody who left me a comment and said, I've been sober in AA for 31 years, and you're just strange. You're weird. Well, I think it's more weird to sit around in meetings drinking stale coffee and smoking cigarettes and preying on vulnerable girls who just got out of treatment for 30 years at a time and talking about how God got you a parking spot in front of a building while he let little kids die of leukemia. That to me is weird. That's weird to me. But you just disproved everything that I said by saying that. I'm weird. So therefore, AA must be correct. Just like someone else told me, you are so angry. The 12 steps can free you from anger. Really? Because the AA meetings I went to had the most angry and miserable and hateful and spiteful people with the double-digit sobriety that were petty and backstabbing and everything else. So, yeah, I think I'll take a pass on the 12 steps healing me from my anger. See you guys in a couple of weeks, probably. I could say next week, but it probably won't be. So, see you guys in a couple of weeks. Check out the other channels and let me know what you think in the comments.